Yo, what's up, everybody? Kicking it stateside, back again. We got a lot to talk about today, per usual. We got Champions League. Nice win for Madrid coming back, beating the boys from Paris. We got Concacaf Champions League rocking and rolling. We got games tomorrow and games from last night and tonight. We have, of course, Prem. Gotta love it. We're full swinging back into action. United's in shambles. Chelsea doing their thing. Also, we got a red card, yellow card segment. We got some weird shit going on in Mexico. We need to get that together. But all the fun things we'll talk about in the world of soccer. Let's not waste any time. Let's rock and roll.
Let's go! Dit heet een partij, ons is tegen his steak!
Oh shit!
It's gone!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Kicking it stateside. Back again on this quite dreary Wednesday from the Northeast in Philadelphia and in New Jersey as well. Adam Modick, Brian Wheeler coming at you, talking all things in the world soccer, domestically and international. Got a lot to talk about today, per usual. We got Champions League that just wrapped up. Real Madrid comes back in dramatic fashion. Karim Benzema, you feel like the man's been doing it for years and years at whatever age he is, getting up there in the mid-30s. Still putting the ball in the net, per usual. We'll get into that. City with a stalemate, which is good enough to go through. We'll talk a little bit also yesterday. We had some games as well. Flipping it back to the good old Central America. We got North America going on. We have the Concacaf Champions League going down. New York Yankees FC, New York FC, getting a good win in Connecticut, of all places. That will also be, segueing kind of into bringing my good friend Brian into this. That I'm going to save that for red card, yellow card for later, because I was thinking of this last night in my head. I won't get too much into it, but it's about NYCFC and how they are being passed around like we were talking about. Like, you're playing in LA and then you're playing in Connecticut, and it's just kind of funny.
Well, if you ended up watching, anybody who watched last night's game too would have seen that it wasn't even a home game for them last night. That game, that stadium in Hartford was packed to the gills with the Guatemalan fan base. It was basically like all Guatemalans came together. For anybody that doesn't know, Comunicaciones is their stadium is in Guatemala City, so they are like the capital city team of Guatemala too. So for them to be playing in Connecticut, it kind of brought just an array. I actually have a friend from New Jersey, and she was up there with her family. So it was a very big deal if you were from the Northeast. And I said it last night in our group text in jest, but in all seriousness, this is why we play World Cup qualifying games in Cincinnati in the middle of February. Because if you don't, it's not a home game, because that was not a home game for NYCFC last night. But they did find a way to prevail and take that 3-1 victory in the first leg. That's big for them. And then we did have that second game as well, too, to where we had dual MLS wins last night, with Seattle taking a big dub over Leon. You thought that would be a very competitive competition between those two. And Seattle has the leg up, I should say, I guess, in this one.
I mean, it's shocking all around. I mean, I know Seattle's form so far in the league has kind of been a little lackluster to start. But,
Yeah, you can say that 0-2 and just
sitting
not
pretty much
looking
at the bottom. But
yeah, but they're the Sounders. They'll be back.
I mean, again, you see it with teams even in Europe. You're seeing teams, they value certain competitions maybe a little more than their own. They're thinking, you know what, it's still 2 weeks into the MLS season. We're still playing for a possible, Concacaf Champions League, trophy. So why not put all your energy and expend all your energy into that tournament, since you know damn well that you could get off to great starts in the MLS. But again, it's kind of how you finish that second half of the season. But
Fredy Montero comes out. He gets 2 goals. And then Jordan Morris, back from rehab. Speaking of rehab, again, our show is sponsored by Specialized Physical Therapy, Dr. Paul Vidal, #1 in South Jersey. Specialized Physical Therapy, 2 locations, Burlington, Cherry Hill, or you go to specializedphysicaltherapy.com and you can check out the good doc. He's ours. Make him yours. But Jordan Morris comes back in the 90th minute and just adds an extra one, which in two-leg soccer is monstrous to have that third goal going back to Leon when they have their second matchup. So it's definitely off to a good start for the MLS clubs. And we got 2 again going tonight. New England, who's also, got some things to figure out early on in the MLS season here. They're going to take on Pumas. And then we have Cruz Azul. They host Montreal tonight. So, again, those games, you can see them. They are being aired on our television, amazingly. I think FS1's picking both of them up again, mainly because the MLS teams that are involved, which is great. So 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, respectively. If we can get at least one more dub and go 3 out of 4 in the first legs for the MLS sides, I think that would be huge, man.
Yeah, and that kind of good segue into the poll question today, kind of mixing it up. We feel like we always are talking Prem stuff. So we wanted to pose this to everybody out there. Do you think that this is the year that an actual MLS club finally wins a CONCACAF Champions League? I know history will say probably not.
Yeah.
And again, from watching NYCFC's games, I would say they're probably going to be in the semifinals. I know that, hell, the Union got to the semifinals last year just based off a good run that they had, and were able to, until you run into a good team like last year, Club America, who I don't even believe they won. I believe Cruz Azul won last year, didn't they?
I believe so, yeah. Club America's off, talking about having a bad start. Yeah, they're in an awful start in Liga MX this year, sitting at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, but I would say, as far as the poll question, I still think it's going to be probably a Mexican side. I want to say NYC has the best chance from an MLS standpoint, but unless New England values the champion, we haven't seen them play since they basically got a bye into this next round because the other team had visa issues.
Yeah.
So we don't really know what New England is valuing as far as competition. So I guess it's too early to tell, but from watching NYCFC and Seattle, I think that NYCFC has our best chance as far as an MLS club, getting and finally winning one. But I don't know. It's just history again. It's not on our side, and it's really hard to say that this is going to be a different year because history has always been there. It's always been a Mexican side. It was 2 Mexican teams last year. So I would think that an MLS team will get to the final. It's just the fact whether they will actually win or not. I don't know, man. What do you think?
My gut says, well, first of all, before I answer the poll question, our poll question is brought to you by BetUSA, the leading online sportsbook who has been in the market for 25 years. You can bet anywhere on everything with BetUSA. Click the link for up to 125% sign-up bonus with BetUSA using the A2D. But I'm going to go, this is it, man. This is the year that it finally happens. And who else but the team that just has MLS written all over it, the Seattle Sounders. I feel like you said, there's value in competitions. They're off to a little bit of a slow start in the MLS season here. But I don't care what the situation is. When you play a team like Leon, who's not, in their best form at the moment, but they're still a very good, well-known team, well-run club. To win that first leg 3-0, to have been close many times before. I think they're that kind of team that finds a way to get over that hump and maybe brings one home for the MLS finally. Now, if anybody does know, going back dating in this competition, before it was like Concacaf Champions League, a U.S. side has won the competition, but it's been, I think, over 20 years now, 25 years since it's been changed and adopted, and MLS team has not won. So we are due, man. I don't think New England's the team with Turner hurt. I think Montreal is probably the one that definitely doesn't get through. I think they're going to have their hands full with Cruz Azul. But I think the first two last night are definitely going to get through with those victories. 3-1 and 3-0 is going to be tough to come back for both of those clubs.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just going to be depending on the next matchup too. And if we get only 2 through, do those two have to play each other in the semis? Obviously, that's going to make a big difference too in the odds of this happening. But I would love to finally see it, man. It's for what it would do for just more growth for the league, for U.S. soccer, for everything, for them to finally win this one and gain that next level of respect would be huge.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing it, on the international stage, how the U.S. is kind of, we've taken it to Mexico, the last 3-4 times we played them, and that's pissing them off to no end. I think it would just honestly be the cherry on top of that cake if, one, we go into the Azteca at the end of this month, which we will be talking about in a few weeks' time, when the U.S. men's national team's qualifying the last 3 games before the World Cup here. Starts at the Azteca in Mexico City. If that would happen, plus an MLS team wins the Concacaf Champions League for the first time in whatever you said, 20-some years.
Yeah.
I think they might revolt in Mexico, because then that's just confirming that the time is now for just U.S. soccer in general, and the time for Mexico has now passed.
Yeah.
That would be just again, the cherry on top of the cake, that everything would just be saying this is our time. You had your run where you're dominant, but now it's our turn. And now you have to start respecting MLS as a league and not just saying it's this cupcake shit where you've been able to kind of, have your way with, MLS squads in the past. So,
yeah, man.
We'll see. You can only hope. I'm not a huge NYCFC fan. They're climbing the list as most hated teams. I did hate the Red Bull because, we were supposed to, apparently, because they're the closest to Philly. But I don't really mind after so many years. One, because it's been pretty one-sided recently. Sorry, Brian, but
in the playoffs at least. Yeah.
Right. And then NYCFC, it's just like.
Although right now you can't really take me off my Red Bull high horse to start
I
this
know.
season.
I'm gonna let that one just keep going, man. You got to do it. You've had some tough years recently.
Listen, this is the first time since you and I have been doing this show that I can like sit here happily, like repping both clubs, feeling good, proud. Things are in good shape right now, in both directions, and I think I only see it getting better for both sides. So,
yeah, things are coming up, Brian.
Yeah, man. Let's go.
Before we move on, just want to say what's up to everybody.
Yeah, sorry, we kind of
chiming
neglected
in. I know
everybody
we get
this
on
morning.
like these our intro tangents. Daily, what's up, man? How we doing in the North Carolina?
Yeah, and as Adam's putting up all the hellos, our everybody's comments are brought to you by the rant booth at A2D. So that's the beauty of A2D, is that you can come on here, you can comment. We do our best to answer and respond to everybody as the things are coming up. Sometimes if we're not quite on that topic, we'll come back to it. But we'll always do our best to discuss everything you want to talk about. So again, head on over to the rant booth, all campus, 20% off, hats, shirts, team cornhole sets for all A2D subscribers. So check it out. Daily, what's up, bro? Yeah.
Just in case. 20%, don't forget.
Even the Caroliners are cool and dreary today. It's just one of those days all along the East Coast, unless you're in that bottom part of Florida where it's just sunny all the time.
In their minds, it's sunny, and in actual weather, it's sunny.
Yeah.
That's why they're a different breed.
That's where I need to go.
Yeah, that's a good question, Pove. I mean, I think we're still kind of like waiting for, what's going to go down with that. It's going to be a long, drawn-out process, with this whole Roman thing.
Yeah, well, no, apparently today it came out. No one's come anywhere near the $3 billion valuation that they set for the club. So to be honest with you, I said this from the jump. I know, it's up for sale. Doesn't mean that it's gonna sell. I think he's gonna try and drag it as long as he can and hope this whole war kind of just maybe goes away before he has to sell the club. I mean, because if somehow they find a way to kind of end this thing and find some peace and all that, and he hasn't sold the club, and they can kind of maybe he doesn't end up having to, but.
You know what? It's one of those things where, like you said, it's just gonna keep on being drawn out.
You don't want Woody Johnson buying your team. That's all I'm going to tell you guys. I feel really.
Well, once that report came out, all the Chelsea fans are like freaking out because, I mean, I saw that too. I mean, you see how the Jets organization is run. Do you want that little freaking wrinkly old man's hands on Chelsea? Hell no.
Yeah, at least Kroenke shows you he wants to win with what he's doing with the Rams. I mean,
exactly, and he just won. So at least he's got it.
Yeah,
Johnson's just
that's dreadful.
Clueless old person who just has a lot of money. It's like,
well, this sounds like a nice investment. Yeah,
he already has a huge sample size with the Jets. It's not good. Let's not go down that road. I don't think they would actually do that.
Yeah,
I think there's many more other people that have the. He doesn't even have like a pulse. How do we know he has any pulse on any of any football in like Europe at all?
Right. You'd be better off with Art Rooney buying them.
He's like, yeah, I heard this team's up for sale. Like, do you even watch the game? Like,
no. Some of these guys, it's just business, and that was the problem with Arsenal in the beginning. And I think Kroenke's finally realized that that's just not going to fly. Over in England with these clubs, so seems to be turning around finally here.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I don't know. I mean, as far as on the field, I don't think so. There's a lot of guys out of contract, but I think that was going to happen regardless of who is the owner of the club. If it was Roman or somebody else, like Rudiger's out of contract. Christensen supposedly on the move to Barcelona. So I think there's going to be a lot of moving pieces regardless of who's in charge. So that shouldn't really affect it. I saw some of the coaching staff as well, maybe possibly losing Peter Cech would be a big loss. But no, I don't think so. Again, there's going to be some, I think that Swiss guy probably has the best odds right now to get that. But again, it's like Brian said, it's going to be a long, drawn-out process, and we probably won't really know until, I would say, at least probably a month. Could be more. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joseph. Nice to see you chiming in. Been a while. The old FA Cup. If you missed it last week, Chelsea, of course. Sorry,
Yep.
not FA Cup. That was a League Cup. Sorry. Again, I do this to myself too. It's not just everybody else out there. I get super just like you're getting confused out there. But yes, the League Cup. The League Cup did happen.
Too many games.
Chelsea. Yeah, too many games, too many competitions going down. I'm just like,
can never have too many games.
I know. But the League Cup, I'm sorry, yes. But the FA Cup, I meant to segue into that better. In my head, it sounded much, much better. That did go on earlier this week. We had Manchester United beating Peterborough on Tuesday 2-0. We had Palace beating Stoke 2-1. The Prem killers, Middlesbrough, 1-0 over Spuds to advance as well. Huge for them. And they get a lovely draw with Chelsea in the next round. That should be exciting. After Chelsea beat Luton Town 3-2, we had Southampton over West Ham 3-1. Liverpool beat Norwich 2-1. Made them sweat it out a little bit. Everton knocks out the incredible run of Boreham Wood, the non-league side. Finally, what a run they had.
Yeah, Everton can beat a fifth-tier club, but that's about it right now.
That's the only thing they have. That's the only thing they have to hang their hat on right now is a nice win over fifth-tier Boreham Wood. But props to Boreham Wood for getting this far into the competition as a fifth-tier squad in the National League. So you got to respect that. And
then Forest wrapped it up by beating Huddersfield. So.
Correct.
Yeah, so we got those come up the 19th? The 19th and the 20th. So Middlesbrough, Chelsea is on the 19th, and then Palace takes on Everton. Southampton City, which was predicted.
Called that. I gotta give you props
this
on
show.
That
Yeah, you knew that was going to be the case. It just always seems to be that way. So poor Southampton kind of at least was getting into a little bit good form in the FA Cup. They're not in awful form in the Prem. They're just kind of being Southampton. But they draw City. At least they get that as a home game. And then Forest at home again. Those fans, as soon as they won that game against Huddersfield, were lining right back up at the ticket booths because they got the mighty Liverpool coming into town. And, we'll take some heat for this one. But, again, most of us will be Forest fans that day. So
I know. It's been pretty quiet on
I'm going to be a Middlesbrough fan. I'm going to be a Forest fan. I'm going to be a Southampton fan. I'm definitely going to be a Patrick Vieira and Crystal Palace fan. I'm definitely going to go for all the dogs. Although I don't know if Palace is a dog against Everton at this point, but they are home and Everton is awful, so they may not be a dog. But
yeah, I mean it's been so quiet on the Liverpool front. They're actually acting like a team that's been there before.
Yeah, it's nice
it's good to see.
Yeah, I mean that is a good segue, I guess, into a little bit of Champions League talk. We did mentioned that when Adam opened up the show with what was going on today as we were just wrapping up, as we were coming on live. Again, this portion of the show is brought to you by our sponsor, eXp Realty. Alan Foy, looking to buy or sell a home, looking to change career or brokerage, contact Alan Foy of eXp Realty, LLC, 302-682-8820. Visit him at alan.foy@exprealty.com. 2 games yesterday. 2 completely different games yesterday. Let's start with, since we were talking about Liverpool, let's start with Liverpool. They actually lose yesterday's game 1-0, but they do advance to the next round, the quarterfinals, which on 2-1 aggregate. I'm sorry. I had a little brain bubble there for a second. I was going to try to say 2 things at once, and it just didn't work. So for those who don't know, these tournaments, they're 2 legs for the casual watcher. So the first game, Liverpool did win 2-0. So Inter would have needed to at least have this one 2-0 to send it to extra time and have a chance to stay alive. Lautaro Martinez, really nice goal. And then unfortunately 2 minutes later, my boy Alexis Sanchez gets his double yellow red card, gets his butt thrown out of the game. And it's just, when you're going against a Klopp team, and the funny thing is, if you know, for all the talks and all the heat you get, they didn't really necessarily come out yesterday and just be guns blazing Liverpool side that they normally are. They did kind of try to play it safe a little bit, I think. And when you have that much defensive talent and you're up a man, they were able to hold on at least and advance. I mean, anything from that game that you take away, or?
You know, they did what they had to do. You know, they're at home. I think they're being super safe and kind of sitting in. I didn't get to catch too much of this. I did see some of the highlights, though. The Lautaro Martinez goal, though, that was fire.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, Alexis just being dumb.
Yeah, it was one of those dumb, when you're already on a yellow, you can't do that right after you.
No, you can't be going to ground like that recklessly. So, fault on him, because, I mean, if they're playing with maybe a full 11, you never know what's going to happen for the rest of that match. So, he could have squandered an opportunity for his squad to tie it up and take it to extra time. So, I guess we'll never know, but it's a real killer to get sent off when you're chasing the game a little bit.
Yeah, so Liverpool will advance on.
They advance, so
and
they had to do.
They're advancing on with my 3rd team of red here. I don't have any memorabilia to hang up for them. But Bayern, I mean, we watched the first game, and you know, you and I were live during the first game, and Salzburg was up 1-0, and I figured it was going to even end that way, and I still wasn't going to be concerned because they still were going to go back to the Allies and have an opportunity to just beat Bayern, and then they drew it on that Kingsley Coman goal, and right there it was like, yeah, this next game's not going to be good, because like that was that momentum changer.
Yeah,
and
deflated.
Yes, and sure enough, before I could even turn it on, I was running around doing some stuff yesterday, and I flipped the thing on, and Lev has a hat trick already. Draws 2 pens, both himself, takes them both himself, finishes them both himself, and then comes right back 2 minutes later with the true, real deal, first 3-goal hat trick. To just, the game was over at that point. And then they just continued to add on. Serge Gnabry gets 1, Thomas Mueller gets 2, Leroy Sané adds another one, and 7-1, 8-2 on aggregate.
Yeah, I mean, we already knew that it was going to be a tall task for Salzburg to go into the Allianz and get a result, and they're in over their heads big time. But I didn't expect him to lose 7-1. I thought they would put up a little more of a fight, but again, that late goal by Coman in the first leg, plus the first, 20 minutes, 21 minutes of this one, he kind of knew that it wasn't going to go very well. So
I guess the only bright spot to take away was Brandon Aronson did get the assist on that goal. Yeah, so he just continues to. I was reading somewhere somebody said he basically is pricing himself out of Leeds at this point, and Jesse better make that call and get something done quick, or he's going to be heading to a bigger side than Leeds at this juncture. So.
Yeah, his stock is just rising, as the season goes on. Again, 20 million might not even be enough for Leeds. And especially we need to know what Leeds is going to be doing, because if Leeds goes to the championship for whatever reason, if they get relegated, he ain't going to Leeds.
And it's still a possibility. And we'll talk about the Prem very shortly too. But they are in that danger zone without a doubt.
Oh yeah.
So I guess next week when we're on, first of all, two things for next week while we have everybody. One, we have more Champions League. We'll have everybody else advancing. We'll have a quarterfinal set by the time we're on the air or while we're on the air, because they are later starts. They are 4:00 starts. But Wednesday is also Liverpool Arsenal. While we're on the air at 4:15. So I'm thinking maybe we can stay on a little longer and run that thing all the way to the end with some live react, maybe get Lord Walker on, and hopefully it's one of those games where we get some really good video cuts of some intense live reaction from the end of that one. And
yeah, that'd be sweet to
I was looking at that schedule, and that's the reschedule of that game that was postponed, those controversial postponements that were going on a month or so ago. So,
yes, we had Lord Walker on like a month ago or so, and that was a heated topic between Brian and Lord Walker on postponements and what different cups and had on the COVID situation. It was popcorn worthy answer for sure. But yeah, that'd be fun to do a little live reaction of the Arsenal Liverpool match.
Yeah, so
sweet.
So we'll have we have Ajax and Benfica. They're tied at 2-2 in aggregate. Man United and Atletico are also tied 1-1 in aggregate. Juventus and Villarreal also 1-1 in aggregate. And the only one with a leg up right now is Chelsea, up 2-0 on Lille. And that game will be at Lille. So
that's done and dusted.
Yeah, I would think so at this point. But
unless Lille comes out and performs like...
Unless they actually play Tim Weah and Jonathan David together.
You would think so, but they did not start. Timmy didn't even play the last leg, so...
We'll see.
Yeah, that's a tall order, especially the way Lille showed up in that first leg. So,
the rest of the other three should all be really good games.
Great.
Though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then today, you just have obviously probably the match we were most. I think everybody was most, looking forward to, and what everyone was going to be tuning into was the Real Madrid PSG game.
Yeah, and it definitely held up to
billing.
Yeah, no doubt.
PSG gets that late, goal from Mbappe in Paris in the first leg to go up 1-0, where you're like, all right, good momentum, typical Mbappe, kind of do it in himself, splitting defenders and go and side panel on them. So you think that, all right, good momentum going into Madrid. Then Mbappe gets a goal to start off the game, in the 39th minute. You're like, all right, PSG's looking pretty good. And then all of a sudden, just second half was the Karim Benzema show. And he gets the hat trick, and Madrid moves on, wins this leg 3-1, 3-2 on aggregate, and advances to the quarters. So,
and once again, Messi, bye-bye.
Again, I was just saying that to somebody. I was like, you know what?
I was going to change my name to a Messi exit, but then
that was good. That would have been pretty punny.
I kind of like this one though too, because that's he did. I mean,
really did. He really did.
The guy just he moved himself into third all-time scoring in the history of Real Madrid, which like the guy, he's been there 13 years, something like that. 15, he's 14 years. He's been there forever. Every year, I think, or every 6 months, every transfer window, you, me, and the rest of the world talk about who's going to be the next striker to replace Karim Benzema at Madrid. And in reality, there's not a next striker that's replacing Karim Benzema at Madrid anytime soon, because he just keeps going and he keeps scoring in big moments and big games. And if you look at those goals, they're just all workman goals, man. Those are striker goals. When I always beg to find a real deal striker, that's the guy that you look to, a Karim Benzema.
Yeah, I mean, we always say, all right, who's, Real Madrid, they're getting a little long in the tooth, and, who's going to replace Benzema at striker, but he just keeps holding on to that role because he just keeps scoring. The man's been on the team since, 2009 and has 212 goals with the club. So, and you add that list, I'm sure, the Real Madrid all-time scoring list, you're going up with some good players, and I'm sure Ronaldo might be on that list for his possible years there.
Ronaldo's one of the only ones ahead of him, yeah.
Okay. I thought so. He had
I think he's third on that list now in all time with Madrid, which is, I mean, to be in the top 5 with that kind of club for an all-time scoring. He just seems like one of those guys. He just kind of is underrated. He played a pivotal part when France won that World Cup as well. He just, the guy's a true striker. It's a great player. And to see Messi get bounced is just, and PSG get bounced, just feels so good. Yeah,
it's amazing because I feel like we have these debates every once in a while, the GOAT talk, Ronaldo, Messi, and everybody probably knows who's tuned in, which side we're on. And, we have our, the Messi stands, and we always say, he's one of the best, obviously. We would never say anything less than that. The guy's insane, but full resume, there's always a debate. Because now that Messi won that damn Copa, that he finally get that trophy with Argentina. So
yeah, I don't know. He was not impressive today at all. I was watching that game. He kind of looked out of place, and it's one of those clubs right now where it's just a whole bunch of talented guys that have no continuity, no anything. It's just weird seeing Poch on the sideline, and I don't know. It's just, of course they're going to do their thing in France because there's just too much talent for them not to run through France. The fact that they didn't win France last year was a disgrace, even without Messi. So that they're going to win their league pretty much year in and year out at this point with the money and the talent that they have there. But they want more. They're expecting more. They want to be, one of these big clubs around the world. And again, they were in great position. Like you said, Mbappe comes, carries them again. They're up, 2-0 now. There's no more away goals or anything like that. So they don't really have to worry about anything other than just sitting down on this 2-0 aggregate score in the second half and move their way on. And all of a sudden, the wheels just fall off. And it was so nice to see.
I mean, both rosters are like a who's who on the bench and who's in the starting 11. It's if you would have said that those rosters a few years ago, it would have been that guy's on that team. Oh, my God. So you're having a front three of Messi, Neymar, Mbappe on the same team.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at one point, they were setting up for free kicks, and the announcers were like, "You have the 3 of the probably 5 best forwards in the entire world all circled around this same free kick. And they still can't. Yeah, I mean, it's just underperformance. And PSG goes down, early exit once again at the Champions League. So, and City, we don't even need to talk about that game. They just kind of hung out today. They had a 5-0 lead going into this one, and it finished 0-0 draw, right? And they just
0-0. Yeah. They had 69% of the possession.
Yeah, they sat on that ball and they passed the ball around. And, yeah, you know. Well, they're one of the best passing teams in the entire world. So for them, it was just basically let's get out of this thing with 0 injury, 0 issues, and
they basically called up a bunch of academy kids as well. Like they started C.J. Egan-Riley at right back. And they made a Zinchenko got an appearance. Even Ederson got subbed for Scott Carson.
Hey, might as well at this point. I mean, in a game like that, you had all the opportunity. You could have lost 4-0 and still advanced. So I mean,
Pep used all the subs, all on academy kids. So good for them. They just kind of passed the ball around and almost was a little bye week. Not to say that Sporting's a bad team, but.
No, but when you lose that first leg 5-0, it's all but over.
Because they have you where they want you. You're up 5-0, and then now you're going to go chase the game to leave yourself exposed on a counterattack. They're like, well, what do we do? So basically played right into Man City's hands. So Man City advances on did what everyone thought they were going to do. And probably, I would say, the way it's shaping up, you would say City probably the favorites with Bayern pretty close right there with them. Obviously, the way Liverpool's form is in the league, you could probably throw them into the conversation. But
yeah, I mean, a couple weeks ago, I wouldn't have put Bayern at all up in there.
Their league form's not exactly great either, but
their league form hadn't been great. They just in general, they've kind of been, and they had that first game with Salzburg. But yeah, I mean, after this last performance, it's hard not to put them right back up into that because that's a capability at any time with the talent that they have in the scoring ranks. But all the big names are still alive, which we kind of figured. Yep. We'll see through this little next grouping here if it holds up the way that we kind of thought it would. But I guess you want to talk Prem?
Yeah, we could do that.
We have games tomorrow, so I mean we don't have to necessarily go back totally to the weekend. But there was a little bit of movement in the table, not a ton, but
yeah, there's some talking points. I think obviously from a U.S. standpoint, Jesse Marsch gets his first coaching appearance for Leeds United this past weekend. Unfortunately, they came up a little short, and he's being overly criticized now that, I don't know if you saw people are saying that when they were huddling up after the game, people are criticizing that, saying they shouldn't have done that. And they're still referring to like American coaches as Ted Lasso.
Yeah, he made some pretty good jokes in his press conference, though.
He's laughing it up because he thinks it's hilarious that people are referring to, as a fictional character to a guy that's got a pretty good pedigree so far.
I was going to say, I'll buy it when it comes to seeing Chris Armis's dumb face sitting on the Man United bench.
Chris Armis might be Ted.
Yeah, but Jesse Marsch deserves a little bit more respect than that, and he'll get it. And I was listening to some of the guys, some of the other commentators, and they made a good point. It took a while for the players, the American players, to get that respect. Yeah. And now you're starting to see it playing in Europe, and the McKennies and the Pulisic's and all these guys that are really starting to play. It's only a matter of time before the coaches get the same kind of respect. And people are going to mention Bradley and stupid face and those guys, and they kind of paved the way, but it's not quite the same. And I think what the task that Jesse's going to be set with, I think he's the right guy for it. I just hope that Leeds kind of knew what they were getting into, and there's going to be growing pains, and we just, for his sake, we hope that they can find a way to stay
up, I guess.
Stay up, yeah.
Was probably the task that they told him to just, stay up and you'll be safe. But again, it's these American coaches, I feel like, have such a short leash. Like Bob Bradley got put in a really tough position with Swansea, and he got canned pretty quickly. Yeah. And that was just like a failure, like setting it up for failure. And Jesse Marsch at Leipzig, he totally was set up for failure. Not the team that played a Jesse Marsch style of soccer was not.
No, they got rid of his 4 or 5 best players as soon as he took the job. Getting rid of
guys like again, just leaving the roster short of even another coach with so many different pieces and so many like missing pieces trying to gel that team. It was a bad fit because Leipzig made it that way. So Leeds has pretty good pieces. They just need to, I think, believe in themselves again and just find a way to get that goal scoring touch. It's been the problem with them the last, at least this year with being able to put the ball in the net. Yeah, Paddy Bamford missing has hurt them greatly.
They're minus 32 in goal differential. They're the second worst goal differential in all the league. So they had a decent game under him this week, only leaking, the 1 goal. They night and day looked different defensively, and he hadn't even been there a full week. So we'll see, but it's not going to be an easy task. It's that gap between them and the bottom is
it's
thin.
It's getting small.
It's small. So again, we're talking the Prem as we kind of are finishing up the show here. This portion of the show is brought to you by Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping when you use A2D code Manscaped. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tool for the job with Manscaped. So we had some Prem games over the weekend that, again, we had been talking about. We have some games coming up tomorrow as well, so we can give you the rundown of that. As I think they start what time tomorrow? They're usually 2:30 Eastern time. Yeah, so Norwich, Chelsea. I mean, Norwich at home.
Bad team.
All I'm gonna say for your Blues is you can't drop. You gotta get your 3 here, because we're coming up hot on your tail as well. We still have a game in hand on you. So
I seen you in the rear view.
I don't want to talk any of it. I'm not gonna, because there's still a lot of season left. But yeah, it's these are those games where you got to go in and it's like, no matter what, you got to get out of there with 3, even though you're a road team. So Norwich has just been absolutely dreadful this year. Worst team in the league.
They've been pretty bad, and I got a little nervous this past weekend, when it was 0-0 against Burnley. But I think Tuchel got into their asses. They came out and beat the hell out of them, and scored 4 goals. And, our boy Christian Pulisic had a hell of a second half, so he needs to keep that up. He's he's going to be vital in this World Cup qualifying window. He's starting
to look a little happy again.
Yeah, finding that love of the game. I know, he talked about the whole anxiety and kind of just, there's a lot of pressure on the guy. He's, supposed to be the best, one of the best players U.S. has ever had, and the leader at such a young age. And he's already been through the World Cup qualifying before in 2018, where, we all know how that ended. So it's a lot of pressure. I get it. And, to be on the biggest stage with one of the bigger teams in the world at Chelsea. So it's almost shouldering two, you're shouldering two big clubs. It's a lot. So.
Yeah. No, it's good though. I think that's a good thing for him to have that. I think that'll kind of ease things as we work our way, and we're really going to need him in that stretch run. As we'll talk about coming up here in the next couple weeks with some of the injuries and some of the guys we're going to have missing in that, and the need to win some of those games.
Yeah,
we're really going to be relying on Pulisic to be a catalyst and all of that. So,
oh yeah.
What else? We got Southampton and Newcastle.
Hey, don't look now. Newcastle might be good.
Yeah, they're on a nice little run.
When did Eddie Howe become the manager? Am I that just not in tune with Newcastle? Wow, I felt like a terrible soccer fan. I did not know Eddie Howe was the manager.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look around and
I'm down on my job.
You close your eyes for 5 minutes in this game, and you'll have managers in all different places. I mean, look at that game today. You had Ancelotti and Poch coaching, Real Madrid and PSG.
If you're not paying attention, you'll think that Poch is still at Spurs.
Yeah, and Ancelotti could be in 9 possible Premier League locations. So
he's like favorite recycled managers.
We were just talking about him as one of the possible front runners now for the United job. So it's these guys keep rotating and moving around, but Newcastle's good again. I think they're starting to climb their way out of that danger zone. Another win or two, they'll probably pull themselves completely out of any of that talk, which some of the other teams haven't been able to do. And Southampton is the top 10 club. I mean, yeah, they're top 10 now. They'll probably finish like 13, 14. I mean, that's usually what they do. We know this by now. There's no reason to expect more or less, no matter where they sit. They can go on a nice run and they can go on a nice dive. This is one of those games where probably would favor Newcastle. I think now Southampton's main focus is probably FA Cup. At this point, they've done enough in the league that they're safe. They got 35 points compared to Norwich's 17 down at the bottom, so they're not going anywhere. No. So I would probably favor Newcastle in this one, but not surprised if you see a draw type game. Definitely.
Yeah, I just don't want to put too much stock into Newcastle quite yet. I'm excited for him, and I bet on him on Saturday, but.
I mean, Kieran Tierney's been well since coming back. Joe Willock.
Frazier has apparently found his scoring boots again.
Frazier woke back up. Joe Willock's been
Eddie
good.
Howe thing,
And Bruno
Guimaraes.
Yeah, he hasn't even started yet. So you might see his first start tomorrow. He's subbed in every game. I think he's subbed in like 5 games since he's been with the club. Mm-hmm. He's gotten on the pitch for each one of them, but he has not actually got an official start yet. So that could happen as well tomorrow. But yeah, they're trending in the right direction, I guess.
Right, yes.
What else? We got Wolves Watford.
Yep.
So another just bad team. Thank you, Watford, for being a bad team and Arsenal handling them last weekend.
I believe Wolves are still.
I mean, they're still in a European hunt. They're sitting in 8th, 40 points. They have played a couple more games. They have played one more game than Spurs, who are just ahead of them. I don't think there's any chance of European football for Wolves next year, but they're going to finish in the top 10 this year.
Yeah,
for having a new coach and some new players and moving on from a couple guys, it's not a bad year, I don't think, for them.
Yeah, you're starting to see that top 8 kind of, breaking away from the rest of the table.
Oh, yeah.
You're starting to see that separation of, You got your good team. You got your two really good teams at the top. You got Chelsea at a whatever right now. You got Arsenal, who's on fire, who's climbing the table at rapid speed. You got a United team that's stuck in the mud. You got a West Ham team that's stuck in the mud. You got a Spurs team that's been like, all right, really good. You think they're going to really turn the corner, and then they lose 1-0 to a shitty team. And then you got a Wolves team that played well, up until almost like a month or so or 3 weeks ago, and all of a sudden they kind of hit a little bit of a skid. So it's starting to be like, all right, these teams are getting points again. They're not dropping points, and that's been the key, and that's why Chelsea's so far off the pace for top spot, because they just draw bad teams. So
yeah, 8 draws this year for Chelsea hurts you. We've seen that before. With Arsenal and some other teams where those draws just keep you at that little bit of distance from the rest of the competition. And then the last game Thursday we'll have is Leeds. We've talked heavily about hosting Villa, who Villa's become that team nobody talks about anymore just because they're that middle of the table average team. They don't have anybody super flashy or that exciting anymore. Jackie's gone, and it's like they're just Villa, but they're here. They're not going anywhere. They're sitting at 30.
Southampton.
Yeah, they're at 33 points, 0 in the goal differential. They're finally back to level. So they're not positive. They're not negative.
Coutinho brings a little bit of, I think, positive energy to the team.
He did, especially when he first got there. Now it's kind of feels like it's already leveled off a little bit. We'll see how that continues.
Ollie Watkins actually had an appearance and put the ball in the net for once. I think that's been. He was signed, from Brentford for big money, and he was a goal scorer. And he really hasn't been like that guy that Villa, has wanted him or thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
He's been kind of quiet. So I think they just need some scoring from somebody, they get it from just every random person who, Jacob Ramsey's been there, a couple. Matty Cash has put the ball in the net like 3 or 4 times this year as a left back. So I don't know. They'll be just fine. I think with Stevie G, it's going to take maybe a year, and I don't know, make some adjustments in the off season, see what they can do. I don't think they're going to be able to keep Coutinho because his wages are going to be. He would have to really, really take a big pay cut. I think he's getting $450 right now on Barcelona's wages per week. Villa's not going to be able to pay that.
Yeah. We'll see if he stays in the Prem or if he goes back. But
yeah, it's just it's again, the season's just rolling by with just so many fixtures. I mean, it's right back to it on Saturday. Chelsea's got a game already on Sunday.
Yeah, that's it's like we could get into all of them, but it's just there's so many coming up. Just the schedule's in that form now. We're really rolling along. You'll start seeing makeup games coming in the midweeks for those teams that are behind in games. My team's still behind in games. I'm looking forward to the Sunday matchup against Leicester. That's, I think, even though Leicester hasn't been that good either, they're another one that's just been like falling down to 12th in the table now.
Yeah,
that's just one of those games though where it's like these little tests keep happening now for Arsenal, and they got to keep getting past these little tests and picking up points when they have the advantage now, being a couple games behind.
It's a big one.
Yeah, staying in that flow. They get that one.
You can't look ahead to Liverpool because that's what get hurt.
That's what I have. It's not even that I don't have any confidence, but like my shit talking meter, my cockiness meter is all tempered. Now we go and we put up a nice little crooked number at home against Leicester heading into that Wednesday fixture, and that my tune might change a little bit, but still going to stay tempered now. There is a lot of work to do. I've mentioned several times in our group text, Arsenal is the youngest team in the Premier League, So with youth comes inexperience, and this stretch run. Not only were you inexperienced in age of players, but in coach as well. This is a big stretch run here, so we will see. But
I mean,
definitely,
you get a big win against Leicester. I mean, and United fumbles the bag again at home to Spurs. I mean,
yeah. I mean, we're 3 games in hand
you're
over
starting to cut away
United,
big
and
time.
we're a point over them.
Yeah.
So I mean, we have 9 potential points sitting out there with that point advantage. So yeah, if these little things keep happening in the right way, we could be in really good position to dare. I'm not even going to say it. I would just maybe some Tuesday, Wednesday football next year. That's all.
I mean, if I'm Arsenal, I am taking the Foxes seriously and not looking too far ahead to Liverpool, because I think there's a lot of just recent, just not just on our show between, Liverpool, Arsenal banter, just the recent games with the fixtures being all out of whack, and just like that fire of, Arsenal actually stepping up and, trying to come toe to toe with the big boys, and then just not playing up, or weird red cards. And
Arteta's played Liverpool 8 times since he's been coach of Arsenal. He has 3 wins, 1 draw, and 4 losses. So for me, I'm like, we're right there. If this is that one, that game is so big
on the calendar.
on Wednesday. That one's, because if they can somehow, honestly, even draw and just get that point, like that point, if that's following up 3 from against Leicester, and then they grab 1 against Liverpool, I'll start talking top 4. If we get 4 points by from now till then, I'll really start talking top 4. But I'm not even gonna bring it up too much.
Yeah, you got to reserve your excitement and get past Leicester first, and then we can see the chest puffed out for that Liverpool game.
Yeah, man.
Anything else around the any top headlines? I saw there's a new commissioner in the NWSL in the Women's League.
Yeah, which was needed. They've had a lot of headlines, not for positives lately, surrounding that league and things. So I think it's time for a new commissioner to come in and maybe make some changes going forward and keep continuing to grow that league like MLS has been growing, because 20-some years ago, no one would have ever thought MLS would be at where it's at now. And now we're having teams on their inaugural game selling out 75,000 seat stadiums. So
definitely growing.
Yeah, man. So that's definitely some good news.
Bad news, Quincy Promise.
Yeah. I remember when we broke this news on one of our shows when the charges first happened. It feels like a really long time ago. It's only been about a year and a half now. But it sounds like he is going to be facing murder charges. He is currently playing for a Russian club, I believe.
Yeah, Spartak.
Yeah, so he's in Russia playing for Spartak. But the Dutch prosecutors are basically saying they're going to go for murder charges. So we'll see how this thing goes, but that's
he's denied involvement, so I don't really know how you can
and
he's doubling down, saying he has, apparently there was at a family party, he stabbed somebody, and he said he's not involved at any point, which I don't know how many alibis you can have when your whole family's at one party. It's like, no, he was there.
Yeah. Greggy says he disagrees to the poll. Can't count on the MLS for anything right now. Greggy, you better be careful, because all I'm going to say is the longer these guys sit in meetings down in Florida, the more MLS is going to start becoming that next little sport behind football and basketball because
It's
hockey's
great.
already, I love hockey and a lot of us love hockey.
Love
And,
hockey.
we love our hockey happy hour boys and all that. But, soccer's already creeping on hockey, knocking on their door, and baseball just keeps kicking themselves in the foot. So if you can see teams like Charlotte FC, putting 75,000 people in the seats for their first game. Speaking of which, you know what? I'll save it for my red card for people talking when they have no clue what they're saying, but it has to do with that game and people on the internet.
A lot.
Yeah. So, but
well, I mean, the big topic was, I think that we would be silly to not even address was the violence going on at the game in Mexico.
Yeah, we do have to talk about it. I don't like to talk about it too much because it just puts that like black eye on our sport. But I guess at the same time, it's kind of good publicity for our sport for some of our casual fans, like Greg and Pete and.
Yeah, it gets the headlines when people talk about violence because people read the clickbait of 25 people injured at a soccer game.
Yeah,
you don't see it.
Unfortunately,
in the U.S., but it happens a lot.
Yeah, and we get into, we have little fights in our parking lots and stuff like that. And every once in a while, I think out in LA, unfortunately, you hear after maybe like a Dodgers game, some dude gets his head beat and one guy dies. But
it's not funny. Sorry,
it's not. But like this was just another level. People like you don't understand. First of all, the fact that they have to have fences with barbed wire separating supporters clubs in these stadiums to begin with. Should tell you, and
that Atlas team has a history of
they do
fan violence.
They do, and the crazy thing is they're both pretty decent clubs in their league this year, and they've kind of put themselves in the whole league in a bunch of jeopardy. The problem is with all this stuff happening is then you have issues with Mexico hosting World Cup games coming up in 2026. And people, fearing for their safety and things along those lines. It hurts the league. It could hurt this Champions League that we're so happy to have now with the MLS teams and all of that. So it's like, it's one thing to support your team and to get a little rowdy and all that, but to take it to this level to where people are actually dying, like to find out that a kid got killed, this kid gets his chance to go to a soccer game and, never gets a chance after that. It's like, that's.
Yeah, you shouldn't be fearing for your life at a sporting event when people are, getting stripped naked and just getting the shit beat out of them.
Yeah, like I want to take my son to a Red Bull game and I want him to like really see what it's like and be down by the supporter section and really get that feel for a game. But at the same time, I don't want him to having to worry that it's not going home. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Again, it's that 2026 hosting of, Mexico having a few cities involved in that is really in jeopardy now with, are they going to risk having people's, lives in danger and fearing for their lives?
Which could be a positive result for us because if that does happen, they could just shift it totally to United States and Canada and open up more venues in our country.
They should be announcing the venues, I believe, shortly.
Yes, and if I don't see Philly, I'm going to be very upset. I think Philly should definitely get.
I would think it would have to be.
I think that would be monstrous.
At least the first round,
Something. Philly's got to get something.
Maybe group stage games, play 4 to 6 games there or 4 games there or something like that. I think that's pretty fair. Obviously, Giants or whatever it's now, MetLife is going to get probably the semifinal or something.
I hope not, because that turf sucks. Well, maybe, but we got 4 or 5. We got 4 years till then, so yeah, hopefully they'll fix it by
technology then. Somehow they'll roll out the fake.
But
the little thing that Arizona has.
I actually heard Jason Kelsey on the radio today and saying that was his least favorite stadium to play on by far, not even close. That surface is just rough. There's a lot of injuries on that surface too, so they do need to make a change. But yeah, so I guess red card, yellow card. I'll just dish out my red card to this moron on social media. And again, I warn people, it's one thing to just come out and say things, but like sometimes you just got to think before you say something, because this guy's talking and they were hyping up Charlotte and the fact that they put 74,000 plus people in that stadium. And he was an FC Cincinnati fan. And his comment was, well, if we used Paul Brown Stadium, we would have beat that by a ton. Awesome. Guess what, buddy? Paul Brown Stadium sits 65,000 people. So how are you going to beat that by a ton? Where are you going to get those extra 10,000 seats plus to fill that stadium? So, like, just think every once in a while, take that moment and think before you make a comment, because it was just an idiotic, stupid comment. And big ups to Charlotte for putting all those people in there. And FC Cincinnati, you can kiss it, because you're still the worst team in the league, and you're going to be again this year.
Yeah, that's a wild take. Wow.
Yeah, like why even say that comment? You should know how many seats your stadium holds. Because then some other dude followed up with like, hey, yeah, if we played at the Rose Bowl, talking about like one of the LA teams. Now that's right. The Rose Bowl sits 100,000 people. But he did his research, he knew that. But this other idiot just
play at the Cleveland Browns Stadium. Doing that. It's like, who cares? It's not a pissing contest, really. It's about the results on the field at the end of the day. And Cincinnati is still the worst team in MLS after 3-4 years. So
yes,
it's but we all know how everyone feels about that.
And newcomers, Austin, are no joke, because they put up another 5-piece. So. Number one team in MLS right now, Austin FC. Yeah. So, that's all I got, man.
My red card, I teased it a little bit in the beginning, but just thinking about NYCFC, right, as climbing my the hate pole for most hated teams in MLS. It's getting up there. Just the fact that they're owned by they're owned by the Manchester City group, right? Mm-hmm. How in the world do they not have a soccer-specific stadium with all that oil money that is coming into them, and that they play at a baseball stadium? That
they can't even play at.
Joke and just very sad. I was sitting here last night watching their game, and I'm like, they play at a baseball stadium, and they're owned by one of the richest clubs in the world. How do they not have a soccer-specific stadium? Even playing at, pick a stadium, pick something. But why do you shrink the dimensions and give yourself a stupid advantage by playing at this miniaturized U12 sized field?
That's what the Hartford field looked like last night too.
It's ridiculous. I'm like, how in the world does a club that is owned by one of the richest owners groups does not have a soccer-specific stadium built already?
And the worst part is they're representing our league as our champion. Our league champion doesn't even have their own stadium.
Played 0 home games in their Champions League run so far.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just ridiculous how, one, you can't even say, well, where are we going to put it in New York City? There's nowhere to put it. It's like, I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's abandoned factory
Brooklyn somewhere
that has been, having, just, it's just like a landfill. Do that.
They'll find something. Eventually, they will find something.
And I understand, pandemic probably put a little damper on that too, but
they got all that money. They just won the league. City's in great shape. City's, has the potential to win the Champions League and Premier League. So there's definitely it's not a lack of resources. It's
better.
It is. I know. I've been.
be like, can you imagine if like the Union played at Citizens Bank Park in the outfield?
Yeah. That's a tough sell when you're like trying to sell somebody to come out and check my team out, and then it's like
I get it, it's Yankee Stadium, and you get that, but you're just ruining their outfield, one, and you also are having an advantage of a shrinked field to contest with as an opposing team.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was my rant for the day.
Like I've said to them many times, get off my lawn. Go find your own home.
It's about time.
They haven't been using our stadium either, so that's good at least. So they can go everywhere else. But I'm tired of renting space to them and then having them win the freaking league.
Rent's due.
Yeah, but Tommy, what's up, brother? And Tommy agrees. See, smart man. I'm agreeing with this poll today too. We are gonna get an MLS winner. It's not gonna be my club because they're not involved in it, but maybe a good run this year, and they'll be in next year's. Yeah. So, let's rein it in a little. We're 2 weeks in, but
I know.
I won't talk top four with like 10 games left in the other league. I'm definitely not talking anything 2 games in, but
let's wait till maybe like a 10-game sample size, and we'll see where everybody's sitting in the table.
Struber for Coach of the Year, baby. Let's go. Getterhart.
He keeps it up. You never know.
Yeah. I don't know. He's going to have some competition with this Austin dude. Wolf.
True.
Wolf. Wolfie.
Wolf is right.
Yeah, I was watching Taylor Twillman like butt loving that dude on an interview after that win the other day. I hate Taylor Twillman. But anyway, let's anything else we have?
No, I think we got everything off.
All right. Well, then we look forward. Yo, Ev. Hey.
Yo, man, what are you doing?
Before we leave today, Ev, next Wednesday, Liverpool, Arsenal. Big show. If you're available, you're welcome to hop on with us, too, for a few minutes. We're going to get Lord Walker on. It's going to be live while the game's going on. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, we'll roll with that. Lord Walker's been very quiet. I think we hurt his feelings.
Yeah, he's been mad I think he's just mad. More me than anybody, probably. But
I'm sure we'll get him on.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So, all right. Let's get out of here.
All right, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you guys next Wednesday, 4:30. Sorry again about the late start today. Life kind of does that every day. But, yeah, we'll talk to you guys next Wednesday.
Yes.
4:30. We got Champions League to talk about. We're back. We'll have hopefully all of our quarterfinal teams will be established.
Yeah, well, that'll be happening. All that'll be happening next Wednesday. Those games will be wrapping up. We'll have the Liverpool Arsenal game going on. So next Wednesday, definitely big show.
Pack.
Yes, sir.
All right, everybody. We will see you guys next week. We love y'all.
Love you guys.
Later.
Later.